Okay, these are the solutions for the classwork handout that I gave last Thursday for those of you who want to look at it before the quiz tomorrow. In these first problems, you're to figure out the quadrant and then draw the triangle in that quadrant, and that'll help you with your negative and positives for your x's and y's. And so I'm drawing the triangle in the quadrant that it says, and figuring out the length of each side of the triangle, thinking about when I'm in the negative x or a positive x, like in this case here, it's negative 12, because I used the Pythagorean theorem to find that. And the next one, I find that this is in quadrant 4, that between 270 and 360, it's quadrant 4. I draw it in here, find the third side that was missing, and then it can answer all the questions for all the 6 trig functions. Then problem number 4, same thing. I'm thinking about when is sine going to be positive and tangent negative, and that would be in the second quadrant. So I draw it in the second quadrant, figure out the missing side. In this problem here, I see that it's cosecant, excuse me, not cosecant, secant, which goes along with cosine. So this is negative, which means cosine will be negative, but tangent will be positive. That would be in quadrant 3. So remember, it's all students take, and so this is the tangent is positive, but cosine would be negative. So draw your triangle in quadrant 3. Put in the 2 sides that we know. Since the secant is negative 4 is the hypotenuse divided by the adjacent, and so we could just as, we could just as easily have put this as negative 4 over 1, and that would be helpful. And then you can see that the 6 trig functions here. And for this last bit here, we're doing the reference angle. So remember, we talked about just subtracting 180 until you get something between 90 and negative 90. So I'm doing that in each case. In problem number 8, I actually have to add 180 because it's already negative. It's too much negative, so add 180. In the radians, it's always nice and easy. You just look at, as long as this is reduced, so if this had something like, 20 pi over 6, you'd have to reduce that first. But since this is reduced, it's just a look at the denominator, and it's just going to be pi over 6. This one's reduced, so it's going to be pi over 4. This one's reduced, so it's going to be pi over 3. Remember, the reference angle is between 0 and pi over 2 radians. For the last little bit here, on this part of it, 12 through 14, you find the reference angle and figure out the quadrant. And so since I know that, then I can say, oh, at 45 degrees, I know what the coordinates are. It's root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. But it's in quadrant 3, so the cosine would be negative, so the answer is negative. For number 13, I find that the reference angle is 60. It's in quadrant 1. So I've written down the coordinates for 60 degrees. And in quadrant 1, everybody's positive, so the answer is root 3. In problem number 14, I can see that I've got negative 210 degrees, which is in quadrant 2, and its reference angle, if you added 180 and kept adding 180 until you got something between negative 90 and positive 90, I get 30, so its reference angle is 30. These are the coordinates for 30 degrees. It's secant, which means to flip the x, the 1 over x, and so I've got negative, since it's in quadrant 2, negative 2 root 3 over 3. For these last 4 problems, for this handout, once again, I find that the reference angle is pi over 3. These are the coordinates for pi over 3. But 13 pi over 3 is quadrant 1. And that might take some figuring out when you think about it. 0, and then at pi, it would be 3 pi over 3, and then 6 pi over 3, and you keep counting till you get to 13 pi over 3. Figure out the quadrant. And since we know the coordinates, it's just going to be the y over the x for tangent. For cosecant, 7 pi over 6, the reference angle is pi over 6. It's in quadrant 3. We've got the coordinates for pi over 6. And in quadrant 3, because this goes with sine, sine is negative, so the answer here is going to be negative. And it's going to be the flip of 1/2, but it's going to be negative, so I've got negative 2. For number 17, I've got my reference angle, I figured out my quadrant, I've got my coordinates, and in quadrant 3, the sign is negative. For number 18, you finish this by making this into a right triangle. Here's the reference angle, and the idea is that the trig functions for this right triangle are the same as the trig functions for that theta. So therefore, I've got my right triangle, I've got the three sides, I can find the sign. Please note that I am rationalizing denominators and simplifying, and so the work is right here, and you can look at that work. So those are all the answers to that handout. Good luck on the quiz tomorrow. I know you can all do it. The quiz is very much like this, and you will be allowed to use your calculator to add and subtract, but all of your answers must be in exact form, and you must have all work shown.